Here's the most common way a good training program dies. Someone starts strong, trains hard for a few weeks, looks in the mirror, sees almost nothing, and quits. Right before the part where it's about to work. The problem isn't their effort. It's that nobody gave them a realistic map of when different results actually show up. So they judge the whole thing at week 3 by the one measure that changes slowest, the mirror. So I went looking for what the research actually says about the timeline. When does strength show up? When does muscle actually start growing? Not just look pumped. And how long before the change is visible to other people? The answer is genuinely encouraging, but only if you know what to look for and when. Let's get into it. The very first result you get from training is real, measurable, and almost completely invisible in the mirror. It's strength. In the first few weeks, your lifts go up surprisingly fast, and a large part of that early jump isn't new muscle at all. It's your nervous system getting better at the job, recruiting more muscle fibers, firing them in better coordination, and dropping the brakes it normally keeps on. A classic study tracking strength gains over 8 weeks found that in the earliest phase, improvements were driven mostly by these neural factors, with muscle size contributing more only as the weeks went on. That pattern has held up as a general rule. You get stronger before you get bigger. Plain English version, your first results show up in your performance, not in your reflection. If the weight on the bar is moving up, the program is already working, even if you look exactly the same. So when does muscle actually show up? With sensitive tools like ultrasound and MRI, researchers can detect growth pretty early. In one study, high-intensity resistance training produced measurable increases in muscle size in as little as about 5 weeks. That sounds fast, but here's the honest catch the headlines tend to skip. A lot of what gets measured in those very first weeks isn't pure muscle growth. It's swelling. New training damages the muscle, fluid moves in, and the muscle temporarily looks bigger on a scan. Research tracking this carefully found that the early changes are inflated by that damage, and that true, lasting muscle growth becomes the real driver only after the first few weeks, once your body stops being wrecked by every session. That's why the mirror lies early. A trained, pumped, slightly swollen muscle at week 3 can look like progress that isn't fully real yet. And a calm, rested muscle at week 10 can look like less than you've actually built. For most people, change that's genuinely visible to the eye, the kind a friend notices, tends to land somewhere around the 2 to 3 month mark of consistent work. Plain English version, measurable muscle starts within weeks, but a chunk of the early change is swelling, not tissue. Visible muscle is more like a 2 to 3 month story. Don't grade yourself in the swelling window. Now the question everyone actually wants answered. How much? How fast? And here, the single most important fact is that your rate of progress depends on how new you are. Beginners gain the fastest they ever will, the famous newbie gains. The longer you've trained, the slower muscle comes, because you're closer to your body's ceiling. This is one of the most consistent patterns in the entire field. As a rough guide that experienced coaches use, a true beginner might gain on the order of 1 to 1.5% of their body weight in muscle per month in a good first stretch. An intermediate, maybe half that. And an advanced lifter, less again. I want to be clear, that's a coaching model, not a precise law from a single trial. But the shape is right, and it's backed by how hypertrophy slows, with training experience in the research. The practical takeaway is blunt. Your first 6 to 12 months of training are the fastest you will ever gain. That's not a reason to rush. It's a reason not to waste it with half efforts or program hopping. And if you're past that window and the pace has slowed, that's not failure. That's physics. It just means progress now comes in smaller, more patient increments. A huge share of "I don't see results" is really about leanness, wanting to see the muscle, not just have it. So 2 honest points here. First, visible definition, including abs, is mostly a body fat question, not an exercise question. You don't carve out abs with ab exercises. You reveal them by lowering the fat sitting on top. How long that takes depends entirely on where you're starting from. Second, speed has a cost. When researchers compared a faster weight loss rate to a slower one, the slower, more patient approach did a better job of holding on to lean mass and strength. Aiming to lose somewhere in the range of 0.5% to 1% of your body weight per week is a sensible target for most people. Fast enough to see change, but slow enough to keep the muscle you're actually working for. Abs are a body fat thing, not a crunches thing. And losing fat slower usually means keeping more muscle. So faster isn't automatically better. Now, because this channel is about evidence and not hype, the fine print. And it matters here more than usual. 1, your tools lie to you daily. The scale moves with water, food, salt, even sleep. The mirror moves with lighting, pump, and even your mood. Judging progress day to day is how people convince themselves nothing is happening. Instead, use slower, steadier signals. Progress photos every 2 to 4 weeks in the same light and pose. A tape measure and, the most honest one, your training log. 2, the numbers aren't a personalized prescription. Rates of gain are group averages and models. Your genetics, age, sleep, stress, protein intake, and how hard you actually train will push you faster or slower than any chart. Older trainees and women often gain muscle a bit more slowly in absolute terms. That's normal, not a defect. 3, progress isn't a straight line. Strength stalls for a week and then jumps. Body weight holds for 3 weeks and then drops overnight. The trend over months is what's real. The day-to-day noise is not. And 4, probably the most important. A lot of these time course studies are short, often 8 to 12 weeks, in specific groups of people. The big principles hold up well. The exact week something should happen for you does not come with a guarantee. And please, don't set your timeline by lit, filtered, sometimes enhanced physiques online. That's a comparison you cannot win and should not try to. I'd rather you hear that from me than rage quit at week 6. So here's how to actually track results without fooling yourself. Straight from what the evidence rewards. Track your lifts first. Strength is the earliest honest signal that it's working, often showing within weeks. Take progress photos every 2 to 4 weeks. Same lighting, same pose, same time of day. Compare month to month, not day to day. Give any program a real 8 to 12 week run before you judge the visible change. Most quitting happens inside the swelling and noise window, right before the good part. Expect fast, then slowing. The early pace is a bonus of being new. Don't treat it as your forever rate. Control the controllables. Enough protein, enough sleep, steady, progressive overload, as we discussed in previous episodes, and the boring one, consistency, for months, not days. If fat loss is the goal, aim for a patient rate, so the muscle you're building actually gets to show. That's it. The results are coming on a schedule. Your job is to not quit before it arrives. So, the verdict on timing. Based on the evidence, strength shows up in the first couple of weeks. Measurable muscle within the first month or 2. Visible to the eye change around 2 or 3 months. And a real transformation over 6 to 12 months of consistent work. Fastest at the very start, slower as you go. The people who never see results are usually the people who quit inside the first 8 weeks, judging by the mirror in the swelling window. Please don't be that person. You were closer than you thought. Next time, the myth that quietly ruins people's training. Does being sore actually mean the workout worked? We'll take on no pain, no gain, and what muscle soreness really does, and doesn't, tell you about your progress. If you'd rather train from evidence than from hype, subscribe. This is Proof of Reps. I'll see you in the next one.